Hey there, welcome to the Bronx Buzz, a special show this evening. We're going to talk about how to make Bronx school kids do better in both of our segments. We always talk about how we talk to reporters and writers and editors and authors. And in our first segment, we're going to talk to a school principal in the Bronx who has written a book. And then in our second segment, we'll do a photography with the Bronx Junior Photo League, and that will be interesting and exciting. But it's always a pleasure to talk about. He's known as the Bronx Principal. He's at CS 55 in Claremont. My buddy Louis Torres. Mr. Torres, nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. It's always nice to be on this show.
Well, we got a lot to talk about, and our commitment, and I mean not only me but BronxNet Television. The commitment is to having our kids do better, and not only educating them, but having them do better. So let's get right to it. You wrote a book and put out a book, and congratulations on that. The 6 priorities: how to find the resources your school community needs. Let's just talk about the vision of that book. Did you always want to write a book? Did something happen that you said, somebody better write this book? How did this come about?
Yeah, so I've been a principal for over 18 years. And as a principal, people know that I get the resources. I'm able to secure resources, whether it's through elected officials or private funding. But everyone's always wanting to know what's the secret. Why do you get this money? Why do you get investment in your school building? Why do you get all the partnerships? And basically, I decided to write this book so that people can have the answers to their questions and basically be able to pick up a book and whatever they need for their school community will be able to get those resources for their school. So at the end of the day, my whole goal with the book was to give the leaders of schools across the country a tool that they can use so that they can get those resources they need for their school communities.
You mentioned resources, and recently, and I am just blown away by how great it is. One of many miracles that come out of CS 55. You had a soccer field built.
Yeah.
I want I want to know, how do you get the resources to do that? Who wouldn't want to, in this day and age with the population that we have, to put a soccer field as part of the educational complex? So let's start the practicality. How did that happen? And then we can apply it to some of the theories in the book.
So a lot of what I do is on social media, and a lot of the partnerships I establish is through social media as well as word of mouth and connections with the community. So I partnered up with an organization called Street Soccer USA. They adopted our school. They have been doing programs with our school for over 6 years now, but sadly, they never had a field to play on. So when our schoolyard fell under disrepair, I decided to convert the schoolyard into a soccer stadium. And this was because the president of, or the CEO of Street Soccer USA, his name is Lawrence, he got someone to donate the money for the field. It's going to be named after a gentleman who passed away. And we said, why not? Let's just do it. Let's build this soccer stadium. And with FIFA coming, it was just foresight.
How can I ask how much money went into it?
Yeah, so we were able to secure over $500,000
Wow.
in private funding and support from our city councilwoman, Althea Stevens. She came through for us.
And listen, if you look at the value added of what we're going to get as a result of that, is now, is it full length, or is it not? Because you'd need a lot of space to do a full, what is it, 120-yard soccer field.
So we don't have a full length soccer field because we play what is called street soccer. Street soccer is 5-on-5. So
Mhm.
we actually have 2 soccer fields that open up to a bigger field that
Wow.
we're going to be using for flag football as well as softball, wiffle ball,
Oh,
uh,
of course.
sports. So it's not just going to be soccer. And then we're working on now putting a bubble over it because sadly our school
Oh,
doesn't have a gym. So this will become almost like our gym.
stop. I can't take it anymore. Listen, it's wonderful. The one thing that you are not saying is one of the reasons that companies like that or other organizations will partner with you is because they know that this is a quality school, that the principal is committed to all things in the school, and that there are nice results in a lot of different areas. So let's get into the six priorities. Do you want to name them, or how do you want to do it? Do you want to break it down?
So
Because
for
we want soccer fields everywhere.
so for a lot of our families, education is a sixth priority. Food, shelter, safety, health, access to technology come before education. And it's not because the families don't value education, it's just that life's necessities come before education. So the idea behind the book is that we have to address those five basic needs before we can then focus on education. So the book is broken down into chapters where we talk about how to address food, how to address safety, how to address security, how to address lack of technology, so we address all those basic needs, and I give you strategies on how to get those resources, who to partner with, and I pretty much give you a blueprint of how to get the
Wow.
work done in your building.
What you say is of course what you do and what you practice every single day. That teaching math and science and social studies and all the things we do is very nice. But if the child is not in a position to accept it and has other considerations, frankly, because maybe they are food insecure, or goodness gracious, 10% of school children are coming out of shelters every day. I mean, it's too ridiculous to be believed. You can't you can't get there unless you deal with the first there, so to speak. And
And
and and and I understand what a principal goes through because of the pressures to show the numbers, to get the graduations, and say, "Look, I got to get my kids through this, and I got to get enough of them through it. I can't be dealing with this." I understand it, although that may not be the best strategy.
yeah, and I always tell people, if you don't feed the children, they'll eat the teachers, right? The reality is, most of the issues that happen in school is because children are hungry or they're upset, they're dealing with trauma. We have to look at the root causes before we make determinations about our students. I don't know any family that wants their children to come to school and fail. I think that what happens is that we, as a society, haven't done enough to make sure that all children have equitable resources, and we're setting them up to fail. So as schools, we need to work hard to end those inequities so that our children can then focus on their education.
I hate to keep coming back to this but so much happened because you don't want to give any excuses because whatever the situation is, we've got to, look at what's going on all over the world. And you say, gee whiz, we don't have that. But how much did the pandemic put your efforts back to deal with whole kids? We know that food insecurity exploded for many reasons, in many ways. Obviously, inflation hasn't helped. Um, how much are we still recovering before you can get, or the people who read six priorities can get to where they need to be?
So the good and bad thing of the pandemic is that the pandemic showed what I've been dealing with all my career and all my life, literally. The
Wow.
inequities were not a result of the pandemic, right? They were existing way before the pandemic. And when the pandemic hit, actually I was in a comfort zone because I have been dealing with these inequities all my life and all my career. So for me, as a school principal in the community I serve, I was able to sustain the hit of the pandemic and bounce back pretty strong.
Because you had, well, let me just really clarify that, because you had been dealing with food insecurity, health inequities, poverty, all these other things. And so it just prolonged it and put an underline. So in that way, you were like, I'm in better shape because I've been doing this all these years. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, congratulations, but it's crazy. And so you, in that way, you weren't set back. You were just doing it more and better and more efficiently. Um, is there one particular advice or one or two particular advices you'd give to a colleague? Now, I know you are let's see, I want to just get it. You're the president of the New York City Elementary School Principals Association. If a principal comes to you, and I'm sure they do, and they, like you said, how do you get all that stuff? But really, what should I do? What's the first thing to do? Do you run a meeting with parents? Do you talk to the elected officials? What's the first thing you do to try and sort this out and move it from point A to point B?
So in the book, I tell people you got to be a beggar and a hustler, and you have to change your mindset. You can't be afraid to beg and hustle for resources. The people who go out there and ask for the resources will get them. So it's changing your mindset, because at the end of the day, we're not asking for things for ourselves. We're asking for our children, for our communities. So it's okay to beg and hustle when it has nothing to do with your own personal gain. It's about benefiting your community. So I tell people you got to change your mindset. And then I tell people you got to tell the difference between wants and needs. We all want a beautiful school, but what is it that you truly need? Once you identify what you truly need, then it's easier to go and get those resources. Nobody wants to invest in principals that don't know what they really need.
So, in the back of my mind, there's a lyric, and it's terrible that I can't place it, but it's all up to what you value now is the lyric that I remember. And what you expressed was a matter of values. So, yes, everybody wants a beautiful school and a clean school, but having that and having kids who are not comfortable in a classroom for other reasons than the beauty of the school, you got to get to that value, right? I mean, that's really what the message is.
So I want a clean and beautiful school, but I really needed a soccer stadium because our children didn't have a place to go out and play. And now hopefully if we get the dome put in, which we're working on, we'll have a gym space.
Well, and
we have gyms.
And I can understand a principal saying, but I don't have a gym. On the other hand, he knows the kids are restless. And certainly after sitting and looking at computer screens for 2 years, the most important thing they can do is get the heck out of there and get running and get out their energies and using, of course, athletics for what it can give to kids. And that goes back to values. So the book is The 6 Priorities, How to Find the Resources Your School Community Needs. Attention educators, check it out, right? That's what we're doing.
Listen, they lose out if they don't get it,
They don't get it. Listen, congratulations on all the great work that you do. And I know everything that you're committed to comes down to one thing, and that's helping our children do better, period. And I know I'm on all your social media, so I know we're talking about the same thing on the weekends. We're talking about them on the vacations. We're talking about them 24/7. And thank you for leading the way for all of us, Luis Torres.
Thank you, Gary, for everything you do.
Great.
Without people like yourself, promoting the positive stuff in our communities, we only see the negative. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And obviously this will go on. We're going to take a short break and do a segment about something that fits right in. We're going to talk about the Bronx Junior Photo League. We'll be right back.
Is that time yet?
It's time.
Come start time for dinner.
Oh, terrific.
Donating pet food is one of the many ways you can help families in your community. Pets and people belong together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
Man, it's lonely. Like, going through life's lonely.
There is the therapeutic aspect of music, just expressing how you feel. I'm going to talk to Howie about his feelings, make it into a song.
Is that time yet?
It's time.
Come start time for dinner.
Oh, terrific.
Donating pet food is one of the many ways you can help families in your community. Pets and people belong together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
Thank you so much.
Fostering a pet for a friend or neighbor can keep families together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
All right, back with you on the Bronx Buzz. I am thrilled about this particular segment because this is to talk about our kids who should be doing this and more every single day. And so it is my pleasure to welcome a photographer, filmmaker, educator. He is the coordinator of the Bronx Junior Photo League, the BJPL, and say hello with me to Ricardo Partida. Nice to see you, Ricardo.
And nice seeing you too, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're thrilled. I'm thrilled about this, as we were just discussing. Our kids have been looking at uh, monitors for 2 years, alone in their homes or their rooms or wherever they are,
Mhm.
and you give them a chance to get out. Talk to me about the Bronx Junior Photo League, what you do, who the youngsters are who participate, et cetera, and then we're going to show some stuff and we're going to really get into it.
Okay, yeah. So the Bronx Junior Photo League is an after-school education program for kids in New York City. We focus a lot on like kids in the South Bronx, well, the youth in the South Bronx, but also like we have youth coming from like different boroughs like Queens, Manhattan, and what we do is like we want to teach them photography and also video. We just actually started a video documentary program, but we want to teach them documentary methods through by them getting a camera and going out into the streets and forming critical thinking with the skills that.
Do you give them a camera,
Mhm.
or a lot of us have one of these, and so we use this, or like how does that work? Because of course not every child has the opportunity to say, "Okay, mom, go buy me a Nikon."
Yeah, so all the youth in our program, actually we give them a DSLR, and we teach them the photography methods. Like we go out and we teach them aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. So we want to teach them like the basically the photography language, so that they can they have the ability to utilize it, because like it's actually a skill. It's a skill set.
Well, there actually is a skill. It to me, it's just incredibly exciting. What's the larger? We'll break it down, and we can show some pictures and things like that. What's the larger agenda? You talked about, giving them some intellectual skills and things. But what do you see when you see a child? And we're talking about middle school and high school. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we middle school and high school, yeah.
So, what's the difference between when a child starts and says, "Oh wow, I'm doing this," and when they end? What's the difference in the child? Do you see growth? Do you see development? Does it make an impact on them as people?
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of the youth that join our program, they're interested a little bit in photography. They're like, oh, I want to learn how to go out and like use a camera. But what we actually teach is we teach storytelling. Storytelling is very important in our photography, and not just a pretty picture. We actually want them to go out and like really be in the community, get to talk to the people in the community, get to witness what they see with it. So it's like photography is a means for them of expression, but it's also a means for us to like really discover where we're at, because we're in the South Bronx. Is It's known as the poorest urban congressional district in the United
Yeah,
States.
listen, man, you could do any description you want. Everybody's heard them all for years, and so believe me, I know what we're known as. Um, so you send them out, and to me, aside from the skill and the photography and seeing yourself create something, as if those are not important agendas, but you're getting them to talk to people, as we just saw in those pictures. You're getting them to learn about their community, understand maybe some of the problems about poverty or other issues that we have, healthcare, or all kinds of drug addictions. If they go and shoot, they're going to find that stuff. It just helps us all do better, and it helps those kids say, when I get a little older, maybe I can, right? I mean, I'm telling this is what we're doing, right?
Exactly, exactly. And a few of them are actually like, they're getting jobs already. Like they're the
Wow.
photographers in their high schools, and like they're going out
Wow.
and like photographing quinceañeras, and yeah, they're out there. You know.
Wow. And you could see there, again, imagine being a young person in the Bronx and having the thrill of somebody handing you a camera and then watching you go through it. Well, what motivated, aside from the fact that I want to promote this wonderful program in this photo league, what motivated us to call you and say, let's do it, is you put out a magazine.
Mhm.
Apparently, it's a bilingual magazine, but perfectly appropriate, of course. Um, Talk about Focus. That's the name of the magazine.
Correct. Yeah. So the reason why I decided to start BDC Focus is because I wanted to provide them an outlet for expression, and like also I wanted to focus on stories here in the South Bronx. We had alumni as well that were inspired through this program to pursue a career in journalism. So they wanted, like for example, we had her name is Pamela Roson. She was still part of the BDC, but I wanted to create her, like basically an opportunity for her to share these stories. And for the students to share stories. So we created the newspaper called Focus as a means for that.
And so, aside from them taking pictures, the Bronx Documentary Center showing the pictures and having all kinds of events and showings and galleries and things like that, now there will be the storytelling takes maybe on a larger focus, if you will, because now are you going to distribute a paper? And be available online. I mean, because I'd like to read it and enjoy the photos, but I'd like to have other people appreciate it as well. We don't have enough media in the Bronx.
Yeah, no, definitely. We have the publication in Spanish and in English, and we have it digitally, and we have it here at the Bronx Documentary Center physically as well.
Mhm.
So if
And
people want to see it, yeah,
is it launched yet? I mean,
it
I have.
already it already launched. We have like our issue launched in December, and we're gonna have another issue that's gonna launch late May, early June as well.
And how often do you anticipate? But you say late May, so you do like what, four a year, two a year,
So
three a year,
right now we're focusing
two,
on two a
two,
year
two.
uh, for the semesters of the BJPL.
What a tremendous concept it is. So let's get into some of the specifics. Now? One of the things that I really like, as you told us before the show, that it's a year, like it's a school year long program. So it's not like you get them in and you get them out, but they get to get their hands dirty with this stuff. Like they really learn how to shoot and come back, et cetera, et cetera. So just talk about the structure of the program and how it works.
Yeah, so we have different classes. We basically, if you're a high school student, if it's a high school student, they start usually in our intro to digital photography class, which is we focus on like documentary methods, but we teach them how to use a DSLR camera. Right after that, if they want to continue with our program, then we have another class which is the advanced documentary class, which we teach them analog. So we teach them how to shoot in film, and then we go into our dark room and we actually print those pictures. We develop them, we print them, and we give them out to the community as well.
I saw a picture, a photograph of them looking at film, and I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute!" Now,
So
I appreciate very much that really is how you make pictures. That's how we always made pictures. You get kids who are interested in that. It must be amazing to develop the film. I mean,
it's amazing.
nowadays, where you got one of these, you can take any picture you want, but there you watch the thing develop. It's
Exactly.
amazing.
You watch it come to life, and like basically they get to touch it. They get to, they get to also look forward for the pictures. Like I feel like nowadays we have our phones, and it's so easy for us to just like snap
Yeah,
a
I
picture of
know.
whatever we see. We teach
Terrible.
them how to think about a picture and like go and actually find the picture that we actually want, and then to see it come to life. It's just another feeling.
I'm just curious before we let you go. Your background. Now, you've been a photographer, you've been a filmmaker,
Mhm.
I think people would be interested in knowing, who you are and how you learned to do this and why you have such passion for this.
Yeah, so basically, my passion is like I really wanted to help out people, and I studied film, and I've been a photographer and a filmmaker, and like I wanted to use photography and film as a means to help out others. And basically, I think the BDC found me. That it's just it was put on to me. I saw a video of a documentary they did about essential workers because initially my passion of helping out people took me to I'm not originally from New York. I'm from Columbus, Ohio, and I was actually on my path to become a firefighter. But I it just wasn't for me. And then I moved to the city. I found the Bronx Documentary Center, and I just had to get involved in any way.
If your personal agenda, was to use your skill to help other people, you're in the right spot. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's interesting to me that you may be from Ohio, but you come here, and I've used this 1,000 times. It's like undiscovered territory here. Nobody knows we're here. They don't know how we live. They don't know who we are. I mean, I saw a thing actually. What was I saw the Family Feud, and there was a family from the Bronx, and something came up, and the guy said guns, and the guy right away made some comment. Steve Harvey made some comment about, oh well, you're from the Bronx, and I'm like, shut up.
Exactly. And you know what?
It's so stupid.
It's like people I mean the Bronx is just so unique within itself. Like
Yeah.
it's you there's no place like it. And to me,
Yeah.
like it really is like a representation of like what New York City is and like the people that work in New York City. So it's just
Yeah.
it's just amazing.
Listen, you're preaching to the choir here. So, first of all, I want to thank my buddy Michael Camber, because the Bronx Documentary Center is his house, and he founded it and makes it work. And it's just one of the great resources that we have in the Bronx. Tell us how people can, if young people want to enroll, or parents want to have their kids enroll, how do they become part of the Bronx Junior Photo League?
Yeah, definitely. You can send me an email at education@bronxdoc.org, or you can also send me an email at ricardo@bronxdoc.org. Enrollment is not going to start until like we also have a summer program, but enrollment is going to start around April. So
Right.
if people want to also see us, they can also see us online at bronxdoc.com. And then, yeah, we have a lot of
You know,
events and
yeah, let's do that, and people and young people and mom and dad and others, get your kids out, and let's get them to do that. Next time, Ricardo. So maybe when you start enrolling for the next session, I want you to bring on a couple of photographers, and
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
and we'll talk to the kids. They can show us some of their favorite pictures. You're a nice interview, but a youngster talking firsthand about what they do and why they do it and what they've learned. We want to do that. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Applause for Ricardo Partida, who is a photographer, filmmaker, and educator, but most importantly for us, the BJPL coordinator. Thanks, man. And
Thank you so much.
let's
Thank you
keep
so much
rocking
for having me
we
here.
keep rocking the Bronx.
All right.
So that's going to be it for the Bronx Buzz. We thank Mr. Torres for joining us, and we thank Ricardo for joining us. And guess what? We'll see you next week. Good night.